Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the inn. We are covering more Witchwood cards today. It's me and Eddie Phoenix, as always, and let's get things started off, shall we, with Lady in White. Now, Lady in White is a 6-cost 5/5 priest legendary with the battle cry, cast Inner Fire on every minion in your deck. And as if they, thought we were stupid, they said just told us what Inner Fire does. So I'm not going to assume you guys are stupid. I can assume you guys read or at least know what Inner Fire does. So Lady in White, basically Inner Fire, everything in your deck, not in your hand, just the deck. I think actually this could be really interesting in a mid-range priest deck, and you'd have to decide what kind of cards you want to run in this deck. To be fair, because you don't want to just put cards that just have higher... you want to have cards that have higher health, true, but you don't want to try to meme things out too much, because otherwise you'll get ran over if you don't draw Lady in White. So you have to kind of balance... You have to balance out the what the battle cry for Lady in White is going to be with the fact that you want a decent mid-range deck. But in general... yeah, I think this would be very powerful in a mid-range priest-style deck. Now, a lot of people are going, Inner Fire Priest. Except, Inner Fire Priest is just interested in taking a high-health minion and then buffing up the health and then casting Inner Fire on it so that you can OTK your opponent. The Lady in White deck is not going to be interested in that. It's just going to be interested in basically giving an attack equal to the health, at which case, it really doesn't matter. Yeah, you could still try to pull off the combo, but there's no difference between an Inner Fire deck before Witchwood and an Inner Fire deck with Lady in White after Witchwood. It's just that you just shoved Lady in White in there because... why exactly? It's not, like I said, it's not really going to help get your combo easier. That's why I would say Lady in White is better for a mid-range style deck. And I think if you can consistently pull off Lady in White and basically just play it as soon as you can on turn 6 or whatever, like probably making sure it's in your opening hand or whatnot, so you can basically play Lady in White as quickly as possible. If you figure out a way to consistently do that, we may be looking at Quest Rogue levels of power here. Now, like I said, you want to put in minions in your deck that would be able to be okay if you don't get Lady in White in time, but that are just extremely scared if you do. And just the fact that if a priest deck can consistently play Lady in White in the mid game instead of the late game, then yeah, this would be a very powerful and a very scary deck. It's definitely something that I think is worth keeping an eye on. That's probably going to be worth experimenting. I'm going to be looking to try to figure out what kind of deck I can maybe build with it. But it's definitely not going into an Inner Fire deck. This goes into a mid-range priest deck that has a similar type of in-game plan or win condition to what Quest Rogue used to have, which is put a whole bunch of big, scary minions on the board. And the thing is, if you do that consistently enough, yeah, your opponent might have removal for this or that, but if you are consistently putting those big, scary minions on the board, your opponent's not going to be able to remove all of them. And so I would say consistently things like Obsidian Statue having, I think it's 8 attack as well as 8 health. Stuff like that, just putting that on the board. Having a 12/12 Ysera. Yeah, you're losing the four attack, which you're going, it's bad in the Priest Mirror, but the thing is, if the Priest in the Priest Mirror has to consistently worry about removing every one of your big health minions, at some point, it's not going to matter that one of your 4 attack minions has more than 4 attack now. Because the opponent priest is not going to have enough removal to take care of it. So, that's not a concern. But like I said, this goes into a mid to late game priest deck. Something I think like Big Priest, a refurbished Big Priest, could really use this. The thing is, of course, if you're resurrecting, it's not going to come back. The minions are not going to come back with the improved attack, so maybe not like Big Priest, but it's going to have a similar game plan. So we'll see. It just depends on whether that type of deck really comes together.
I mean, like, as soon as I saw this card, I was like, WTF busted. Because it's just like, I got to looking and thinking about all that backlog of cards that you normally don't think about or think about playing, because it's just like, oh look, I could potentially play Michigan Worgen. It's a 4-cost 1/7 taunt that when you drop it, it becomes a 7/7 taunt now for 4. Woo, 4-cost 7/7. Let the memes go. But, you know, again, dream scenario or anything like that. When it comes to Lady in White, like, I'm looking at things I know that'll probably go in that deck. Like, your Tar Creepers are going in that deck, no doubt in my mind. You're definitely more than likely running Stonehill Defender. So it either becomes it comes out as a 1/4, or it comes out a 4/4. It doesn't matter at that point. I'm going to say you're not running either Gin or Baku in this sort of setup, because that's just stupid, and that just handicaps you even further as far as your game plan goes.
Well, I mean, you can't play Baku, but okay.
That's what I'm saying, Gin or Baku. So it's like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, since you can't play Baku, since you're not going to be playing this a Baku deck, that means you can't take advantage of Glittermoth.
Yeah. Glittermoth is another one of those things where, like, if you would want to, I mean, you could try to take advantage of it, but I'm going to highly doubt you take advantage of Glittermoth in this situation, especially with Lady in White. Like, because I think of all of the pieces that Combo / Innerfire Priest is losing this coming set, it could be on its way out the door, but because of, like, Lady in White, it kind of, you still have that little bit of heartbeat left in it that you can kind of see. So it's just like, there's a chance for it to still stick around, but I think right now, the Combo / Innerfire Priest will hit that flat line. I'm gonna be wrong. I know I am, because somebody's gonna find a way to just bust it out and prove me wrong.
Well, Innerfire Priest has always existed in Hearthstone.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe it won't be as popular, but it's still going to be there on the ladder, because it's losing bits and pieces, but I don't think it's losing any of the bits and pieces that made the combo big or worth playing. And like I said, Lady in White is wanting a different end game than a regular OTK style combo deck, which is what Innerfire Priest is.
Yeah, and I think that, like, the reason why I was saying, like, it is losing its big pieces. It's losing Drakop. It's losing Bookworm. It's losing the ability to another Spy Historian for 2 other Duskbreakers to be able to keep aggro just off the field.
Well, to be fair, that's the Dragon package. Innerfire Priest existed for a long time without that package.
I know, I'm just saying, I'm going with current, like, active current competitive lists right now. That's what I'm looking at. So it's just like, you're losing all of that. So it's just like, there's a chance for this deck to still be here and still be on the fence, but I'm looking at it going, let's wait and see. I like Lady in White. I think she's a good card, don't get me wrong. So that's where I put her as good / playable. I'm scooting over to Cursed Castaway. 6-cost, 5/3, Rogue Pirate Rare, Rush with the Death Rattle, draw a combo card from your deck. Of course, it's a pirate. It's got that new Rush key tag, and it's 6-cost. Whew. Being able to charge and kill something on turn 6. Really nice. But at the same time, I'm going, is this going to be worth it in my combo-based deck? I say maybe. But at the same time, I'm going, more than likely not. So I put this in my playable spot, because it is playable. But as far as going up higher to be like, somewhere in the meta, I don't see it going very much anywhere as far as things go. Bold, maybe you can change my mind on this one.
Well, this definitely doesn't go into a Pirate deck. Definitely doesn't. Because Pirate deck's going to be aggro decks. This is not an aggro tool. This is more of a control tool, but here's the thing. It's more of a way to get rid of a bigger minion, and then draw a combo piece for you just to continue just kind of go off a little bit.
Elven Minstrel.
Elven Minstrel. I have a little bit of headache, so I'm not thinking as much.
You got the thing that also gets you back.
I was thinking about Foul-Spine Slayer.
That. Cavern Shiny Finder.
I mean, pretty much any of your combo pieces. Here's the thing. I think this card is a sleeper. It's going to be one of those things that I think it may get, if enough people sleep on it, it probably will not see play. But I really do think this card is a sleeper. And if my gut feeling is right on this card, and people do take a lot of advantage to it, this could be a meta defining card. But it just depends on whether people wake up to how potentially good this is as far as drawing a key combo card, which you probably only have very specific key combo cards. And given that it's a rogue deck, being able to remove something, just go boom, rush, remove, get a combo card that depending on the cost you may be able to play that turn, that could be downright busted. So I'm just going to call this. I'm not going to give say, oh, this is definitely going to be meta defining. It's definitely going to be this or that. I'm going to say I think this is a sleeper. And the thing with sleepers are that it always depends on whether people actually realize their potential or not.
Yeah, and see what the meta shapes out to be at this.
Yeah.
Because we got a whole new ballgame coming in because of rotation.
Because I actually do think that this has potential. It just depends on whether other people realize that has potential or not. I'm kind of putting this up with what was that card from League of Explorers?
Effects.
It's the Death Rattle one.
Shifting Shade?
No. For Rogue.
Wasn't under City Huckster for sure. Tomb Pillager?
Yeah, I'm thinking this might be Tomb Pillager level of power.
There we go.
I really do think this is Tomb Pillager level of power. The reason I say that was a lot of people called Tomb Pillager bad when we had the card reveals then, and it became a rogue staple. Part of me wonders if we're going to see the same thing happen here, but I can't say for sure. So I'm going to say this. I think this might be one of the sleepers of the set. Keep an eye on this one.
Ooh, getting gutsy on me. I like it.
Alright, next up we have Chameleos, which is a 1-cost, 1/1 Priest Legendary Beast. With the effect, each turn this is in your hand, transform it into a card your opponent is holding. Now, I know there's some people who think that this would be good in any Priest deck. I don't necessarily think it will, but I do think that in certain select Priest decks, this is a lot better than people are giving it credit for. Because here's the thing. It's not transforming into a random card, it's transforming into a random card that your opponent is holding. What that means is, even if you never play that random card, basically you're getting information about your opponent's hand constantly every single turn. Which means, after a while, if you're paying attention, you probably know everything in your opponent's hand. And that makes Chameleos amazing. Not only that, but just in case that you may need an answer, you may get an answer from your opponent's hand. With Chameleos, that will allow you to do whatever you need to do to basically help win the game. So this could basically give you an answer in your time of need, and it also provides you a constant stream of information. This is not a random effect card, other people whining or thinking about RNG. This is not that, because you're basically getting a window to very specific cards. So think of it in that tool. Chameleos is your spy if you're playing him. So you either need to include him in decks to basically use him in that regard of, I want him as soon as possible just to keep tabs of what my opponent has, or you're playing into a deck that kind of wants to steal some of your opponent's things. And again, you're trying to get information on your opponent's hand, as well as keep in mind that you may need a specific answer from your opponent's hand at some point in the future. I think this is a very good card. I think this is actually an amazing card, and I am definitely going to be playing this card. Keep an eye on this one. This is a really good one.
If people are sitting there saying that, RNG or whatever, look, I'm just going to outright say it. Listen, if anything, because this is a meta definer. Just going to outright say it. Because it's a hand reader. You get information of what your opponent has in their hand. It makes it to where you can start sitting and thinking about what you need to play around, or at least potentially start to set up and get in for and get into. So, like, this can be put into each priest deck because it's just one of those things where it's just, you're looking at it and you're going, I'm getting information. I don't care where it comes from, but I'm getting information every single turn, and it does give you an answer at some point.
Yeah,
so
but
if you
mind if I interject here?
Please.
Yeah, my thing is the reason I don't think you want to put it into every single priest deck is I think that there are some priest decks that don't need it. So I think it's dangerous to say this can go into every single priest deck, because that means that sometimes you're just slotting it in just because, oh, I feel it needs to go into every single priest deck, which I don't think that's the case. I really honestly don't. Like, if you have a free slot, definitely consider it. But basically, don't say, well, I need to put Chameleos in the deck. No, you do not.
Okay, I can understand where you come from that side. I definitely do. But at least on my end / my side, I'm looking at this because this gives me the ability to be able to keep tabs on what I know is going to be, going through my opponent's hand, what's coming in, what's coming out, and just going, alright, here's what I want to get, here's what I want to answer and respond to. Like, 110%. Like, especially if we're, when it comes time for tournaments. Because, this is going to be one of those cards to where it's just like, yes, you can see for your opponent's lineup, mind you, and see what they have as far as their deck list goes. But having to be able to also see the hand, what's in their hand, that adds another layer and a level of play to it. So it's just, I can see this going into a lot of tournament decks. That's where I'm going with it. So, that's me. I'm just doing me. And if anything, since we're done with this, I get to go to Duskhaven Hunter. 3 cost, 2/5 stealth minion. Each turn's in your hand, swap its attack and health. So, again, this is one of those things where Hunter has a Worgen card that you're able to just flip and flop around. And I look at it and I just go, well, okay. It's alright. I mean, the stealth is definitely nice, definitely useful. But I don't see it catching on too much fire and too much play. So, that's me. Bolt, can you change my mind on this?
Maybe aggro plays this, but if so, they wait until it's in its Worgen form and then play it as a 5/2 with stealth, because stealth, I think, is going to be the key to whether this sees play or not. And if so, they play in the Worgen form, then on turn 4, they attack you for 5 damage. As long as they get the 5 damage in, they don't care that then immediately dies. The problem is, it's not a beast. So, in that regard, because of that, it may not see play, because Hunter, especially aggro especially face Hunter, kind of wants this beast so that I can take advantage of a lot of the beast effects and just get those smaller beasts bigger to just hit you in the face for more, and then use face Hunter is going to be including kill command, and you need a beast for that. So the fact that this is not a beast, I think, is kind of huge and may count against it. So 5/2 is stealth, may count for it for aggro decks, but also the fact that it's not beast may do the opposite. So this one's really up in the air. We need to see if aggro players pay any attention to it or not, because that's going to determine whether this has any sort of longevity in the meta or not. Next up, we have Toxmonger, which is a 4-cost 2/4 Hunter minion with the effect whenever you play a 1-cost minion, give it poisonous. Hunter, maybe. But see, here's the thing. There's a lot of potential really interesting Quest Hunter cards, but it just depends on whether you are want to play Quest Hunter, if you play Quest Hunter, if you want to play it in a Baku deck or not. If you're not playing a Baku deck, maybe include Toxmonger just to basically make those one costs a bit more formidable. Otherwise, Toxmonger doesn't see play. I guess it really comes down to, is Quest Hunter going to be a thing, and if Quest Hunter is a meta deck, is it going to be a Baku deck or not? And that's going to come. That's what's going to determine whether Toxmonger sees play or not. Because if Quest Hunter is not a deck, Toxmonger is dead in the water.
Alright, if anything, this is where I go, excuse me! Because if anything, while I was watching Omnistone waiting for you, my good sir, I was able to get a nasty combo with Toxmonger. Because you could potentially play boar control with it. I say boar control because you're looking at, like, Toxmonger. You can play, like, Elven Archer if you want to just, like, ping something off. You can play Stone Tusk Boar to go along with it, because there's another card that I know we'll have to get to later on, because it does come up later on, where you buff a beast +3/+3, and you send 2 or 3 more back into the deck, and then you play Tovir Warden to bring back those little boars and start sending them either face or start hitting other things on the board because they have poisonous. Now, granting, it's the dream, of course, but there is a way to be able to make this work and make it happen.
And here's the thing again. The high roll scenario, basically, what kind of decks will those appear in? It's not going to appear in any. It's not going to appear in Mid-Range Hunter. It's not going to appear in Face Hunter. It's either going to appear in a Control Hunter deck, or it's going to appear in, again, Quest Hunter. And like I said, if Quest Hunter is a meta deck, then Toxmonger is probably going to see play. But if not, I don't think it sees play. It's definitely not going to see play in Control Hunter just for 2 minions. I mean, you're talking about only 2 minions that can benefit from that. In that case, it's not worth considering. If you're playing Quest Hunter, yeah, definitely. And here's the thing. You want to maximize value with Toxmonger. And if your only value is Elven Archer and Stone Tusk Boar, that's not enough, because all your other 1-cost minions are not going to have Rush or Charge unless you're playing something like Houndmaster Shaw, in which case you're probably not playing Quest Hunter. And I'm not sure why you put Houndmaster Shaw in a Control Hunter deck. But at that point, you're talking about a lot of ifs just to maximize the value of Toxmonger. So, like I said, Quest Hunter, it's not going to be in Control, and if Quest Hunter does not become a deck, it doesn't matter what high roll scenarios you have in mind, it's just not going to happen. It's dead in the water. Basically, those 1-costs need to basically have some impetus to basically use poisonous, or the thing is, they're 1-cost, they're just going to be easier to wipe out. And yes, we have Dire Frenzy we're going to talk about, but talk about the dream scenario of Dire Frenzy plus Toxmonger is, again, a 1 in a million opportunity. We probably should not consider that happening, just like you don't consider, you don't call a card trash just because there's a certain type of removal or a tech card that can get rid of it.
I'm definitely waiting to see what happens, because I think I love rotation time, and I love, like, the new meta that's going to have to basically just try to creep up and form, because we never know what's going to happen. So it's just like, we just got this whole thing of having to be alert and going, alright, what's going to do? What are we going to do here?
Yeah, and that's why I'm not, if you notice, I'm not calling Toxmonger trash. I'm just saying that it all depends on whether a certain deck becomes viable and becomes playable or not. Because if it doesn't, then you might as well write it off. If it does, then keep an eye on it. But it all depends on a certain type of deck.
Mm-hmm. So if anything, I'm about to say, I get to walk over here and do Witching Hour?
Yeah, you're next. Sorry, I lost track.
I was about to say, I get to go over here and do Witching Hour now? Yay! 3-cost Druid spell. Summon a random friendly beast that died this game. Man, it's a damn shame that all the good beast shit is rotating out. It really is. I mean, there's some nice stuff that's kind of sticking around. But it's like, man, this would have been nice about, like, a set or two ago. Like, especially with all the menagerie stuff. It's like, But I do see some kind of viability with it if you... Because I know the next card that Bob gets me talking about, I basically about knocked the damn moon out of orbit when I saw it. I was like, because it's so good. But if anything, like, Witching Hour, we can go into the wild side with it and just, have fun. But as far as standard side goes, right now, I'm not seeing too much viability and too much play with it. So, Bob, maybe you convince me and change my mind otherwise.
I see potential in Witching Hour. I think the effect is actually, the spell is actually quite good. I mean, again, it depends on your deck. Does this go into a Beast deck? No. I don't really see Beast Druid being a thing. However, remember the dream Baku Taunt Druid we've been kind of building up in the back of our minds? Do you know how many of those wonderful, wonderful taunts are beasts?
Oh, yeah.
Gloomstag, Hadronox, and let's actually get to the next one, which is...
Might as well bring it up.
Might as well bring it up, which is Witchwood Grizzly. A 5-cost, 3/12 beast with taunt, Battlecry, lose 1 health for each card in your opponent's hand. Now, getting back to Witching Hour, bringing back one of these suckers, scary. And like any of these beasts that you're going to be bringing back, and like a Baku Taunt Druid, is just going to be scary and annoying, and there's so many of them that I actually think Witching Hour might be a lot more viable than people think. Again, I'm going to just label that as a sleeper and move on to Witchwood Grizzly. Witchwood Grizzly, I think this has potential in certain types of decks. I don't think you put this into every deck. Yeah, it has a potential big but it just depends, because not every deck can make use of it. Maybe Taunt Warrior uses this. That's the big maybe. We need to look to see what they have, what their selections are. They may have just better 5-cost minions in general. I think Baku Taunt Druid definitely considers running this. Just because, of course, Witching Hour can bring the sucker back, Hadronox can bring the sucker back, and it's just big and beefy and just scary. Keeping an eye on what's in your opponent's hand, especially if you are playing against aggro, this can really screw up your opponent, because aggro tends to play a lot of their hand. So they end up having very few cards in their hand, which means that against aggro, Witchwood Grizzly just has a big butt. Against mid-range or control, it's not going to be as big, but Witchwood Grizzly wouldn't have been as great in those matchups anyway. This would be kind of really interesting in Priest, especially
Lady in White.
What?
I said Lady in White.
I was going to Lady in White or Baku Priest, because Witchwood Grizzly gets hurt, and Witchwood Grizzly, you play it, it gets hurt, and then Priest just heals it back up. Priest doesn't care. I think Priest plays this. I mean, if any class plays this card, it's going to be Priest. I think the next likely class that plays this card will probably be Druid. Maybe Warrior after that. Other than that, I'm not sure. It just depends. We need to see where we go with this. I think Witchwood Grizzly, I don't think it's going to be played everywhere, but I do think it's going to be a card we're going to see enough. So I think this is definitely going to be playable. But I don't think I'm going to call it a meta definer. I just think it's going to be extremely playable.
I honestly can say that the card is very good, because it's just like, oh, you want to play aggro and you want to basically just vomit and puke your hand out? Alright, go right ahead. If I make it to turn 5, I'm just going to put this down on the board and just say, get around it. I I'm just seeing that, like, when I first saw it, I was just like, oh my god, this is so freaking nice, because it's just like, almost any deck can play this, because it's just that 5-slot clog. Aggro goes nowhere, because you're looking at your opponent's hand, it's like, oh, you got 1 or 2 cards? Oh no, this is 1 or 2 health. It's a 3/10. Bite me. Get around it. And you have to sit there and go, well, shit, I'm in trouble now. And like, a lot of your aggro decks are also going to kind of start to just, they're going to start to fall by the wayside, but we all know something will come up out of the woodwork for aggro. Like, I'm going to say Paladin, because they're not losing too much, but that's just me. But this card right here, oh, I love it. Like, you said Priest, I definitely see it there. Druid, I can see them going and potentially building that Baku Taunt Druid and just, you know, going ham and crazy with it.
Well, at this point, I'm building Baku Taunt Druid.
Yeah. Baku, Warrior, or just Taunt Warrior in general, yeah, just barring the mirror, you just slap this bad boy on board. Go ahead, play your call to arms. I don't care how many minions you vomit on the board. Get around my big creature. So this definitely sees play. It's a very good card. I get to move on to Cathedral Gargoyle. 2 cost, 2/2, Paladin, Epic, Battle Cry. If you're holding a dragon, gain Taunt and Divine Shield. What the was this back during BlackRock? You know, during those days. How many dragons are you going to be playing anymore when it comes to just Paladin in general? I can tell you this much right now. You're more or less going to be potentially looking at this for Wild more so than you are Standard. Now, is this something that Call to Arms can target and just yank and just flop out on the field? Yes. However, you also have other cards in your deck that you just want to go, hey, Call to Arms, yank this out of my deck for me. I'm not seeing the appeal to it. Give me a few more expansions to potentially see more dragons come out, or at least something to kind of drop on the Standard side of things, for me to potentially make grabby hands out of it. For right now, this one's just, I won't say it's dead on arrival, but it's more or less, I'm not looking at it in, you know, in the Standard side of things right now. Bulb.
I am not going to give a judgment on this right now, because we just haven't seen enough from Paladin. Paladin could have dragons this expansion. And here's the thing. If Paladin actually does have dragons, or enough dragons this expansion to actually, where Dragon Paladin comes back, then this is going to be a key card, and we're going to see this a lot. If not, you're absolutely right. We're only going to see it in Wild. So basically, that's what we're going to be keeping an eye on. Basically, does Paladin get dragons, and not just dragons, good enough dragons where Dragon Paladin can make a comeback in Standard, or is this just Wild only for Dragon Paladin decks? And man, I haven't seen one of those in quite a while.
If anything, if they actually do start releasing out more dragons, or at least more things, because like you said, if anything, Paladin hasn't shown its hand very much. Neither has Mage, and I'm going bonkers because those are my 2 favorite effing classes, and I'm just like, where's my stuff with this Blizzard? Where? But, you know, I have to wait, sit, we'll see, and then we go from there.
Yeah, so that's why I'm not willing to basically give a judgment call on that, because this is really dependent on what else we see from Paladin. And we just haven't seen enough at this point to basically know where they're going with this.
I'll come back to it if it gives me something to at least wrap my head around, okay? How about that?
I think that basically if we see some major dragons where we think Dragon Paladin is worthwhile, we'll probably say it at that card review. So,
okay.
All right. Next up, we have Woodcutter's Axe, which is a 2-cost, 2/2 warrior weapon with the death rattle. Give +2/+1 to a random friendly rush minion. Well, I mean, I guess if you're playing warrior with a bunch of rush minions, this might be good. It's a 2-cost weapon, 2/2, could be worth it. I just don't know how much Warrior is going to actually be playing rush minions. Maybe in a control Warrior, but even then. And that's my big thing, is for rush in general, I just think it is... I think it's very... what's the word I want to use here?
Meta reliant?
No, it's very situational. It's very situation dependent. And because of that, there aren't a lot of rush minions where I'm just looking going, ooh, that's amazing, ooh, Warrior's going to play this. Like, right now I can see one where I think Warrior might make use of it. The other ones are up in the air. So, Woodcutter's Axe, just because of that, I'm not sure this one sees play. I just think Warrior has better weapons at this point, and even though it's 2 mana, I'm not sure that's good enough. Maybe it is. Maybe Warrior just plays it because it's cheap, but I think that you'd also want to play it because it's cheap and then have rush minions. So maybe we see this in a control Warrior that includes rush, but I also think if the control warrior becomes a deck, it's going to be a Baku deck, which means they're not going to play Woodcutter's Axe. So I'm actually not convinced that this is going to be played.
I give it the yes, this will be played, but I'm more or less, instead of like a control warrior, I'm more or less looking at a tempo warrior style thing going on. Because it's just, like 1, 2, potentially being able to upgrade it, playing 3 in your 4, and you have your rush minion out there. When it pops, it gives it on the board the +2/+1, and then you just do whatever you want to do with it.
Yeah, but is rush good enough for tempo? That's my thing. I'm not sure it is.
That's the thing. We don't know right now because we can look down, we can see what's already been shown, but it's just more or less we have to look at it and go, can this work and can this be viable? We have to wait until the active expansion is going to, be able to be like, alright, this works, and, this does this and this does that. So, if anything, I think I'll go out on a limb here and say this is one of your sleeper good cards in the set, because you can potentially look at it from that tempo standpoint.
Okay, and I think I can see that. So, I'm not willing to call it trash, but like I said, for me, it's a big question mark.
It most certainly is. That's why I'm going with the sleeper route. Because, if anything, the next card that or at least that I'm going to bring up, is definitely going into a control warrior deck because it's Deadly Arsonal. 6 cost, reveal a weapon from your deck, deal its attack to all minions. So, what I would say you're looking at when it comes to Deadly Arsonal is you're looking at things like Gorehowl, you're looking at Arcanite Reaper. If you want a good board nuke, Deadly Arsonal is right there. And you've also got the ability to be able to still control the board if you want to. Will this actively see play? Again, I give it the sleeper tag because right now we've got a whole rotation that's getting ready to happen. So it's one of those, I can see the viability, and I'm going, I want to see what happens. Because if someone decides to go the Gray main style with their warrior deck, this most certainly sees play. But then again, you gotta start thinking about your odd weapons, so again, gets kicked out. So it comes back to regular control warrior, and you're just like, what do I do? So, Bob, I'm going to kick this in your direction. Maybe you can change my mind, or at least maybe, give me a different perspective on it.
Oh, I absolutely think this sees play. This is a much better mass board nuke than Warrior has right now, because right now, in order to massively nuke the board, Warrior either has to play Brawl, which is good to play, or the mass board nuke that deals weapon damage to everything, and just deals massive amount of damage, requires them giving up their armor, which, of course, Warrior might be reluctant to do. However, Deadly Arsonal doesn't care. It just reveals a weapon, deals an attack, and you keep the weapon. This is about as good as Dragon's Breath. I think it's Dragon's Breath? Or Dragon's Fury? Dragon's Fury.
Yeah.
This is about as good as Dragon's Fury. It pretty much does the same thing. You reveal a card, in this case a weapon instead of a spell. You look at it basically looks at its attack, and then it deals damage to everything. I think for the same reason Mage has been including Dragon's Fury, Warrior includes Deadly Arsonal. It's just a very consistent and a very strong mass AoE. And I think that this is going to be a meta-defining card. I really do. I think this is Warrior's best AoE at this point, and I think they're probably going to take advantage of it. Next up, we have Duskfallen Aviana, which is a 5-cost 3/7 Druid legendary with the effect on each player's turn, the first card played costs 0. I mean, I want to say that maybe this gets played as a combo enabler, kind of like Aviana used to be, where Druid tries to do some Malaga shenanigans. But the truth is, in my heart of hearts, I know that's not going to happen, because here's the problem. Again, your opponent gets first stab at using the effect, which means they get a first stab at playing a card for 0. And here's the thing. If Millhouse Mana Storm is bad because it allows your opponent to play things for 0, Duskfallen Aviana is bad for the exact same reasons. Yeah, it's only one card, but think of what one card that could be depending on who your opponent is. The thing is, you are not going to be able to take it. Unlike Aviana when Aviana was part of Standard, you're not going to be able to take advantage of this card before your opponent does. And the thing is, other cards that we've looked at as potential combo enablers for OTKs or whatnot that give your opponent first go tend to be bad. Temporis is bad. Duskfallen Aviana, I'm sorry, it's bad. I do not think this is the return of Aviana for Malygos decks in Standard. I think that it backfires you more often than not, and if it doesn't backfire on you, basically your opponent has an easy way to get rid of it before you even think of comboing off. I think people will try it. I just don't think it's going to be successful. So I think that we may see a spike as people try it, and then it's just going to fall off. I think this is dead on arrival.
As much as I hate to agree, because, like, right now, like, I look at it and I just go, this is one legend I'm trying to stay away from, because it doesn't appeal to me right now. Could it be something in the future that kind of grabs my attention and makes me go, alright, well, this is something that can be put into the deck? Yeah, sure, I'll come back to it then. For right now, I'm skewing over to Witch's Cauldren. 3 cost 0/4 neutral. After a friendly minion dies, add a random shaman spell to your hand. This is a neutral. Neutral epic, mind you. And you get random shaman cards. Or spells, I should say. Specify. Spells when a friendly minion dies. Whip this on your board. How many classes are going to actively want to have shaman spells? Like, I know Mike Donay has been spoken and teased that some of the spells in this set that haven't been shown yet are really good. I bloody well freaking hope. Because right now I'm just going, I don't know. Witch's Cauldren right now leaves me this big ass question mark, because it's just like, it could be good, but it's just like, where do I want to put it? Bob, you're the mastermind behind shit that makes me scratch my head. Give me something.
Here's the thing. After having seen Hagatha, Witch's, I think was it Witch's Familiar or whatever?
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Witch's Apprentice.
Witch's Apprentice. Like, I don't want to say this is bad off the bat, but basically, this is another one I'm going to give a gigantic qualifier. Because I've been quick to call those cards bad. And I still think they are, but now, after seeing Witch's Cauldren, I am adding a huge qualifier. Because basically, if this qualifier is met, then my opinion on these cards might turn around. And that qualifier is that pretty much the rest of the Shaman reveals have to be spells. All we've seen so far is minions. We need to see, let me see how many reveals we have left on Shaman. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 cards left to be revealed on Shaman, as of this recording. If all 6 of those cards are Shaman spells, well, one of them can't be because it's a legendary, so let's say 5. The next 5 Shaman cards, basically the non-legendary ones, all 5 of them pretty much have to be Shaman spells. Not only do they have to be Shaman spells, I think they have to be really good Shaman spells. If basically those 5 aren't Shaman spells, because we need a decent amount of Shaman spells from this expansion, and they need to be good enough to make you think about using these cards. If they are not, then Witch's Apprentice, Hagatha, and Witch's Cauldren are trash. Absolutely 100% trash, because like we've said multiple times, Shaman spells aren't that good. So basically, there's my qualifier, guys. We have 5 more non-legendary Shaman cards yet to be revealed. They all need to be spells. They all need to be good or at least decent.
If anything, don't forget about Bog Shaper. We're going to get into that one either soon or next video.
Yeah, that's going to be a dangerous one or whatever. But basically, I'm adding that huge qualifier right now. Because if that's not met, Witch's Cauldren, Witch's Apprentice, and Hagatha are all bad cards. And even with them, they still might be bad cards. But that's the only way you would even think about running these cards. So I'm not going to put trash down just because we've seen so many of these type of cards right now. But basically, it all depends on the next 5 Shaman cards that we see. Because if they don't meet these qualifiers, trash all of this. So, next up, we have Wing Blast. Wing Blast is a 4-cost Hunter spell with the effect, deal 4 damage to a minion. If a minion died this turn, this cost 1. This is extremely powerful. I mean, 4 damage for 4, okay, whatever, but the fact of the matter is that I think with Shaman, you can figure out a way to make this cost 1 most of the time.
Hunter.
With Hunter, sorry. You know what I meant.
I gotta pick on you just a little bit.
Yes, guys, you get Wing Blast from Witch's Cauldren! Woohoo! No, you don't. It's going to cost 1 most of the time, because it's freaking Hunter! So, 4 damage for 1? Heck yes! This is a very good spell. I think Hunter plays this spell. This is just very strong, and I think it's going to see play.
That moment when I had my rant last year about Rockdalar because of Spell Hunter, I'm just like, man, Spell Hunter, what are you doing? This is garbage, trash. And I'm just like, now it's, 2018, Spell Hunter's actively frickin' viable. I'm sitting here just going, now they're getting more tools. And this is one of those things where it's just like, this is another tool that gets added to its kit, which makes it good. So it's just like, because it's just so good. So yeah, Hunter's definitely going to play this in that 4 slot. So be ready for it. Hunter could potentially see top tier play this coming round. So we'll see. We will most certainly see. I'm going to move over to Rat Trap, since we're on Hunter, if anything. 2 cost, epic, of course, secret. After your opponent plays 3 cards in a turn, summon a 6/6 rat. Alright, this is incredibly situational, number 1. Number 2, how actively viable are you to sit down when you're planning out your deck, or you look at Rat Trap and go, I want that. Number 3, your opponent has to play 3 cards beforehand. So your opponent's going to start playing a guessing game and going, alright, Rat Trap will be the card that, pops up when I play 3. I don't see your main deck in it. I really don't. But, Bull, maybe you can convince me otherwise. So, if anything, I will kick this in your direction.
No, I think it's trash. Here's the thing. There are only 2 types of decks that are really going to be looking to play, that really are going to have a chance of playing 3 cards in a turn. Number 1 are aggro decks. Number 2 are some type of crazy miracle combo decks. And in either case, neither of those decks is really scared by your 6/6 rat. Aggro decks are just going to look at that, go, okay, and then hit you in the face. And the combo decks are basically, they're going off because they're essentially coming up with a way to kill you right then and there. Your 6/6 rat means nothing in either of those situations, which means that pretty much the scenario where the trap is activated and the rat hits the board means that your opponent doesn't care about the rat and will just kill you anyway. Which means this is a bad secret. 100% of the time, this is a bad secret. So the only way I see you playing this is if you randomly get this in Hunter. Otherwise, you're not going to put this in a deck. It's trash. Next up, we have Holy Water, which is a 5-cost pre-spell that deals 4 damage to a minion. If that kills it, you add a copy of it to your hand. This could be interesting. 4 damage for 5. It's not Priest's best control tool, and Priest has a lot of control tools. And since Priest is a controlling class, this might mean that this card is not good enough to see play. However, depending on the minion that you kill, adding a copy of it to your hand could be decent. I think this is very situational. But while I'm saying that, I'm also thinking that this is not a card that Priest in general is just going to include. I think this goes into niche type decks. I don't think this goes into controlling decks because we're not getting the AoE that they need at this point. They have better single removal tools. So, except for maybe your Still Priests, or Priest decks that either get this randomly or have a reason they want to use Holy Water, I don't think this sees a lot of play. It's certainly appealing to me, because I'm certainly thinking of possible uses for it, but I'm just also considering, I just don't think this sees widespread Priest play, because Priest really is not looking for a 4 damage spell for 5. They're not looking at the situational of adding the copy to your hand, and they just have better single target removal in the first place. They're just going to play that. So I don't think that Priest even considers Holy Water if they're not even considering Holy Fire.
I'm going to be completely honest with anything. I like getting this off of Lyra. Not gonna lie. Because that's about the only way I can see myself, using it in practicality. Now, there's a lot of 4 health minions that can be killed by Holy Water. You've got, Ballspine Slayer. If you want to, you can potentially combo Bust Off and, kill your own card, send it back to your hand, whatever. But, really, I don't see Holy Water seeing main deck play. Getting it from Lyra, though? You can bust nuts with it. Just straight up.
Alright, and is that all you have to say about Holy Water?
That's all I got about Holy Water.
I think we both agree that I don't think Priests are regularly playing this thing unless it's a very niche deck.
Oh no, not at all.
So, that's about it for this go-round. Next time we have more things to talk about, and that should be interesting. But until then, we will see you guys next time.
Yep, we'll pick right back up with Spectral Cutlass.
Oh my.